a multi-time Seekonk track champion and over 40 years of racing experience.
Yeah, multiple winner.
And most recently, 2023 Track Series truck champion. We're joined by the Radical one, Radical Rick Martin. Rick, welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
Pretty good. How you guys doing?
Excellent.
Thank you.
So, first thing I always like to jump in and find out, how did you catch the racing bug?
How did I catch it? I think I was born with it. My father raced for like 21 years before I got into it, so I grew up watching him out there, and he struggled in his. He didn't have the money the other competition had, and he won once in like his 20 years, and I remember being about 10 years old saying, someday I'm going to do that, bring a few more victories to the family.
And I'd say you've certainly done that. Talk to us a little bit about your success over the years. Multi-time champion, multi-time winner. Tell the listeners a little bit about your story.
Well, I mean, I started off on my own, and it was a struggle, and we started winning races, and we had some good times and then some rough times, but it seemed like somebody always came around during the rough times and picked us back up again with another sponsorship and got us going. We had a little more. I just had so mane good people behind me over the years that, 15, 20 years ago, there was times I was getting out of it, and then I got in it with JR's Fast Lane, and then we did that for 5-7 years, and then G. Lopes Construction, and it just kept me going over the years, one to another.
Rick, this is Jim here. Thank you so much. The first time my dad took me to Seekonk was back in 1985. And I can remember in the late 80s you were running the New England Tech Pro Stock, if I'm correct. The 14 and all that. So, as years go on, I go back to Seekonk, last 10 years, and I see you out there still racing. Talk about having a passion for the sport. You're becoming like the Red Farmer and the Herschel McGriff here of the Northeast.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel like them old guys, too. But like I said, there was plenty of times where I said, this is my last year, and things get a little tough, and then get another bunch of guys and sponsors behind her, and put some more wind in the fire, and we'll go at it again. And keep saying this is my last year, but it's going to be 50 next year, so getting towards the end.
It's like you, you and Seekonk Speedway go hand in hand. In all the years I've gone there, I can remember going in the 80s when Leo Clary would be there, and Bud Stevens back. He was in the tail end of his career back then. And did you think you would race this long? Did you ever set like a time limit back then, or was it just basically, at the end of the off season, maybe you decompress, and then after the new year, that bug starts itching?
You know what? It didn't seem like it was that long ago that they were towards the end of the career, and I was the young guy. And now I'm towards my end, and the young guys are coming after me now. It didn't seem like that long ago. Just year after year, just by the end of the season, we can't wait to get it over with. Then over the winter, we can't wait to get started again. And that's all I've ever done is work on cars, build race cars. So that's what I do.
Yeah, I know exactly. When I'm there, and when they interview you, when you win or a top 3 finish, I always enjoy listening to your interviews, just because to keep that fire and the passion, the still drive, and beat those young guys. They're hungry and they're coming at you, but you're still one heck of a wheelman, Rick.
Well, the wheelman's part of it. You got to put your heart into the working through it. There's a lot of work in them now, but they're coming at you hard with their checkbooks these days. That's it's making a big difference.
Absolutely. So, Paul's not here tonight. Our normal co-host, Paul, the Dangerous One, Scally. I'm sure you know the name. But he sent along a few questions he wanted me to make sure I squeezed in tonight, which I certainly will. Let's talk about the nickname, the Radical One, Radical Rick Martin. Is there a story behind that?
Yeah, there is actually. I think it was like 1982. I don't know if I won or we were just doing autographs, and a kid come up, wanted an autograph, and he said he found a sticker in a cereal box. It said Radical Rick, and he gave it to me. And I stuck it on the car, and the next year the sign painter painted that name, and it just stuck from there on. I'd love to know who that kid was, because he's probably in his 50s now.
So if somebody's listening and they were that one, definitely reach out to Rick or to our page. We'd love that story. That'd be pretty funny. So
yeah, appreciate it.
Also, I do believe Paul's convinced it's you. You can correct us if we're wrong, but there is a slot track, racetrack at your house, and you guys all gather in the winter and run. Are we correct, or are we far off base there?
No, well, we've done that since the 80s. I had slot cars in a cellar. A couple of years ago, I built the RC track out in the backyard. I had another RC track upstairs in my house. We actually we didn't run this year because I actually just moved to East Freetown with my girlfriend, and we're going to be building a super speedway for outside and another track in the garage too. So, yeah, it's something we do. I mean, a lot of the guys that race come do it, and a lot of the guys that are my fans, they come want to race with me. You know, get a chance to put Rick Martin over the wall. You know, and we have a good time. You know.
You know, Rick, this is Jim again. You know, what you touched about it earlier. Kind of like two questions here for you. One, you're so right. The cost of racing, they are coming at you with the checkbooks today. In a lot of ways, to me, it takes some of the fun out of it, I would imagine. But to me, you know, what I always think is so awesome about racing and the people who, like yourself, who pour their heart and soul into it, is it's the people that you get to work with along the way. I would imagine, you know, you've won a ton of races, 100 victories at Seekonk, but I would imagine a lot of the fun was getting the car ready with the guys you're working with, or hanging out with your dad, and maybe a Donna you stopped off along the way on the way home from Thompson or something like that. I mean, to me, that's what when it's all said and done, I think that's what you're going to really, you know, share and enjoy. Am I right? Am I wrong? Or?
You're right on. I mean, to me, monitoring in the garage with the guys helping on the car, that means more to me. When we do win, that's given back to them where they're enjoying, where they have part of it and stuff, you know. But I mean, that's why, like a couple of years ago, my friend Rick Lambert, I drove a truck for him, and we did the pro stock in the truck, and he was there every day in the garage with me, and that was the best part of it. And he ended up moving to Florida right after COVID. Then the next year, I was kind of working myself over there, and it kind of took the fun out of it, you know. And it was just to get to be like a daily grind, work all week in the garage and at the track. Then the year after there, Ed Silver come along and built the truck for us to race. So now we're hanging in the garage with Ed and a couple of the guys, and you know, and that's the same thing at the track with all the guys. That's the best part of it. I mean, the win is great, but you know, just we've gone there and had a good time and not even ran good.
Well, you know, exactly, and I think like I can remember sneaking into the pits in the late '80s, over in turn 3 before they put the exit for the pits to enter. You know, before it was, I think you're in and out of one way at the pits. Well, before they added that entrance to the track in turn 3, you could hop there was like really,
I know. The back fence there
you could hop the fence. But the thing I always remembered, I can remember guys coming from practice, maybe. You know, maybe they broke a tie rod, or maybe they banged up a fender, but guys, hey, or something happened, the engine's, hey, I have an extra part, come on over, I'll give you a hand. To me, that always stuck in my mind that, to me, that's probably the most, not the most fun, winning is what it's about, but you know, just the fact that you develop those, you want to beat them on the track, but there's that respect, you know. And
well, that's a real racer that's competitive. I mean, I raced for years with guys, and so you ask the guy to borrow a quart of oil, and he's, I don't have it, but then there's guys that are real racers that want the competition. Like years ago, I think in the 2000s, I was racing for a championship against Vinny Rumo, and he had his other car, and they said, why don't you put somebody in the other car and get out there and race, you know? He goes, no, that car's just in case if I break, so I got something to finish the championship run. We were battling back and forth. He says, if Ricky needs it, I'd let him use it. You know, to me, that's a racer.
Absolutely.
So, like Jim said, over 100 victories at Seekonk, and obviously a couple of championships. We're going to talk about the 2023 season in a moment. But is there one particular victory that may stand out to you down there over your years of racing?
I get asked this all the time, but of course the Busch race in 1987. I mean, I see some of the guys now racing that I raced against as their kids. I mean, the well-known guys. I mean, that was something to beat those guys back then. They had a ton of money, and I had a little homegrown car out of the garage here, out of the junkyard, you know.
Yep. Now, let's quickly... go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the first DAV Memorial race, 10,000 to win. That one stood out. Of course, I went to JR's, got drunk later, so I don't remember much of it.
All right, let's quickly touch upon the 2023 season. Truck Series champion this year. Pretty good season. Yep. Talk to the listeners a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, we started off last year, built a brand new truck with Ed Sylvia and his wife Masha, and we did really good last year. I mean, we were champion last year also with 7 wins, so we only had a couple wins this year. It was almost kind of disappointing, but I guess anytime you can win the championship, get a couple wins in, you shouldn't complain. But
yeah, Mother Nature was a pain in the butt this year, though, too. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, many nights we spent there the whole night till 9 o'clock, and then went home, didn't even get the race. But when you start, you put the whoop ass on the guys one year, they kind of step up to the plate the next year. So competition kind of closed in on us. So we got to do a little bit more work this winter to get a little quicker for next year.
What are you looking forward to for next year?
Well, we're going to be full-time for sure with the truck. Try to go for the triple championship. But the Pro Stock, I actually got it for sale now. I was looking to get something either different. I mean, you basically got to have a Ford now if you want to run in the top 3. I mean, they're just making so much more power to crate motors. I mean, we put a brand-new motor in this year, $15,000, spent another $10 on it, R&D, and we still couldn't get within 40 horse of the Fords. So it's either sell that and build a whole new one or just run on some of the open shows here and there. The longer races, the Chevy's got a little bit more chance because you're not burning up the tires. But the Fords, on these short 40-lap runs, it's tough. They got the power. So
talk to us about some of the sponsors, some of the folks that help you get out there weekly and run.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I got to thank my crew there. My dad, Papa Joe, I mean, he's there every week, 88 years old, in his little scooter. I mean, he got me into this. Sometimes I don't know if I should thank him or what, but then, Rick and Deb Lambert, I mean, they come from Florida. He flew up to Florida on the championship race just to make sure there was anything I needed over here. And, you can't beat that when a guy wants to help you like that. And, and then, I got my buddy cousin Pete there that's there every week with us, and we also help him sponsor and everything. And I mentioned Ed Sylvia and his wife Masha, truck owners. And then my crew, we got Jim Powers and his daughter Melissa. Then we got the Brighton clan, got Eddie Jr., John, Eddie Sr., and my lovely girlfriend Patty, and Chooch is the crew. But no, I mean, my sponsors, that's the main thing. I mean, these sponsors are basically mostly all on the Pro Stock, some on the truck, but most of the money goes to the Pro Stock. And I mean, I probably got 50,000 in sponsors this year, and it wasn't enough. It just takes that much in these cars these days. I mean, I used to build a car for 15,000 and go out there and win 50,000 with it. Now it's the other way around. Yep. This guy's spending $3,000-4,000 a week to show up to win the race for $1,500. I always, 20 years ago, I did this for a living. So I'll make $800,000, $900,000, $1,500. I just worked on my own race car, But nowadays, I got to work on other people's race car. Just there isn't no money in the race, and so you want to be a millionaire from racing and start off with $1 billion.
We've been
some of my sponsors. I got Ken Mungin there, K&M Realty. He's also Fab Flooring. We got Oral Cosmetics, Jimmy Boswell. He's been with me for 10 years. I was ready to quit at one point, and then he came along. I don't know if I should thank him or what, neither. We got Barry from the Sign Shop, Lisa from Motion Graphics. Tommy and Steve come on with Northeast Alternative this year. I'm one of my big sponsors there. Without those guys, I wouldn't even have been running this year. A1 Paving, Andy was big help. Eric Hudson Automotive, guy I used to race with years ago. And he knows how hard it is, and he's retired, and he's coming back to help me. He says I'm his hero. I'm still running. And on the truck, we got the New England Green Lawn Care, Mike King, come on this year. Apollo Safety's been with us for a few years, John Cavallo. Service Partners, Justin Dima. Richie's Insulation is like the main sponsor, Richie Kimball. And Brightman Lumber is also on board on the truck and the car. The Brightman family, which... that's my family right now. So
Excellent.
What?
Been speaking with 2023 Seekonk track champion in the Truck Series, Radical Rick Martin, tonight. And, of course, you want to learn more about Rick's racing career. He is on, there's a Facebook page set up. I found that today, so go on over and check that out. Rick, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you here tonight. And anything you want to get out there before we let you go?
No, just these little businesses want to get on board cars these days. I mean, they don't realize how much that little bit people put in there helps. Sometimes it means the difference if a guy shows up or not. I mean, you support the businesses and the people at the track, they support the small businesses too. So they'll support the sport. That's all. Keep it going.
Absolutely. Radical Rick Martin joining us here on Miles on Motorsports on 95.9 WATD.